Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Dwarven Tavern radio show. I'm your host, Jeff Goins, and tonight in the tavern we have a full house. We have
Sebastian Blanton,
Ian Goins,
Lyric Owens,
Josh Goforth.
And how is everybody doing tonight?
Great.
not pretty good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
A little bit tired, but you
Yeah.
know,
A little bit cold.
it ain't no
Well,
thing.
the snow blowing on the tavern and the roads all frozen and horrible.
Ice giants
and-
walking around like it's their
Yeah,
home.
walking around like it's their doing.
Well, at least it's not negative something. So it actually feels like summer.
It actually does. So, and that's a good thing, especially here in the tavern, next to the roaring fire and the fireplace and all that good stuff, and the smoke rings blowing around from all the wizards.
Yeah, I'm sitting right next to the fire, and it feels amazing.
Yes, it does. So, what's on the show for tonight?
Tonight, we will be doing the news by Josh, and then we will have the review of Looney Labs Choose One,
Oh, yeah, that's a great game.
and we will finish off by doing DT tips on metagaming.
All right, well, let's go over to Josh at the news desk and see what's new. What's new, Josh?
Well, our first news story of the day comes from us from dndclassics.com. For those of you who don't know what dndclassics.com is, it's an online PDF store containing classic content from every edition of Dungeons & Dragons.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
that does sound actually.
And we have, they have new releases coming this week. I'm sure you've heard of it, but the first edition Dragonlance, Dragons of Hope. The Principles of Gallantry, first edition AD&D. Player Secrets of Aria, second edition,
Second
Birthright. And Empires of Sand, second edition Forgotten Realms. And for lastly, the Well of the Worlds, Planescape, second edition.
Wow, that's awesome.
A
Whole
lot
bunch
of
of second
new
edition.
editions coming
A
out.
lot of
A lot of new old editions.
Yeah,
Wow.
that Planescapes was there was actually a video game about Planescapes.
Wow.
Pretty good.
And it was cool. It's called Torment. I think that was the first Planescapes
Yeah.
video game that came out. It was Torment.
And you can download all those for your computer, mobile phone, or tablet, including iPads and Androids.
Awesome.
Our next news story comes from us from usatoday.com. USA Today has reported on the next version of D&D coming from the Wizards of the Coast. For the first time in 6 years, gaming fans will be able to roll the dice with a new set of rules for the iconic role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons. Tyranny of Dragons pits players against throngs of dragons led by their five-headed queen, Tiamat. For the first time, players will get to battle Tiamat, who has appeared in D&D lore as a key villain since the mid-70s. This year marks the 40th anniversary of Dungeons & Dragons, first sold as a tabletop game in 1974 by creators Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. Wizards of the Coast plans a massive celebration for D&D's 40th anniversary, culminating this summer with the arrival of Tyranny of Dragons. Wizards of the Coast would not elaborate on how the rules in Tyranny of Dragons may differ from earlier games, but Stewart notes it will drive experiences across all tabletop and digital platforms. Wizards of the Coast did not elaborate on how the rules in Tyranny of Dragons may differ from earlier games, but they did say it will drive experiences across all tabletop and digital platforms.
That sounds awesome.
I didn't know that it was already 40 years
Yeah.
of tabletop gaming. That's
It-
amazing.
It feels like 40 years. I started playing it when it was Chainmail.
Yeah.
When the game was called Chainmail way back when.
Wow.
Those were completely different rules too, weren't
You're
they?
Oh, yeah.
Their rule
old.
change was
Yeah, shut up. Yeah, it was quite a different world, and yeah. So, anything else?
We got one more. This is kind of a cool little app that I found on Kickstarter. Total Wargaming is a new gaming app for tabletop gamers that are looking for funding over on Kickstarter. The initial version will be a terrain randomizer, with more functionality added as more levels are unlocked. The Total Wargaming app is a simple and effective solution for speeding up your gaming experience, helping to cut out any confusion over what goes on when and where. Simply take a photo of your gaming area, including any terrain you want to use, and then follow the easy instructions, leaving you with a fully randomized table ready to play in just 5 clicks. Any of the stretch goals achieved will be included in this app on the main menu, such as the dice roller, which is designed to cope with large numbers of dice, plus you can tell it in advance what counts as a success, and it will let you know how you did instantly. As well as an army list builder. This tool allows you to enter as many stat lines as your game needs. as well as special rules and abilities for easy reference during the game. And lastly, it will include an army painter. This painting tool allows you to take a photo of your models and overlay different color schemes so that you can see just how it will look when finished. And that came from us from tabletopgamingnews.com. And
that's very cool. It sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, it sounds very interesting. It's very handy.
Yeah, it
and it's a app, so all your mobile devices.
Okay.
I assume it's don't know if it's Android and iPhone, but I can only assume so. I didn't read that
Yeah.
part.
Well, it probably will. We'll have to check it out and see. Maybe we can do a follow-up on that and see if it's Android.
And just an FYI, a Gen Con exhibition hall has been sold out for 2014.
Holy crap.
I think that's the first time that's happened in that short amount.
I think it is. I think I did hear something about it, and I think it is a record.
Yeah, which
I
is
think it is
pretty radical and kind of sucks for the people who are
Yeah, I know.
now on the
People
waiting
wanna
list.
do it. Yeah, it's like, oh, we want to go to. Oh, we can't. Oh.
It's January.
Yeah, it's January. yeah, that does suck. So, but I mean, it's great for Gen Con, of course, but yeah, it sucks for people wanting to get in.
And that's all that is for news for this week.
Okay, thank you very much, Lyric.
Next, we will be going to the review of Looney Labs Choose One, and after that, we will do DT tips on metagaming. But for now, we are going to go to a commercial.
All right, we'll be right back. Don't go away. Till the crows come. around upon the ground like a veritable caterpillar, chasing leaves of green upon the tree. And it all feels like a dream to be free. And we are back. Thanks for listening and being here with us this wonderful evening. Next up, we are doing a game review from the wonderful people at Looney Labs. And this wonderful game is called Choose One. And I don't know why I said it so angrily. I'm not really mad at all.
Okay, give it to me. I'll
Choose one. Doggone it. Anyway, this game, you can find this game is available at Looney Labs from LooneyLabs.com. And we played a game to we've played this game since they gave it to us a few months ago, and we enjoy it quite a lot. But Sebastian,
Lyric almost hung herself.
I know she hanged herself with her cable for her headphones. Sebastian played it for the very first time tonight, so let's get his take on it first. What did you think of this game?
Well, I could see that this game would start a lot of fights really quickly.
Really?
I think Lyric and I have to go to counseling for our relationship.
Yeah. I
Because she
agree.
apparently likes,
things that you
cakes
have no idea.
over cookies.
Okay, well, explain the game to us, Sebastian. What did you think? I mean, not what you thought of it, but explain. Give a brief overview.
Give the mechanics of the game to see.
The game mechanics. Yeah.
Well, from what I saw, you take these playing pieces, one of them being a hot dog, one of them a rocket ship, a button, etc.
Kind of like Monopoly.
Kind of. But different enough.
Different enough, yes. I agree.
And you play on this really small board, easily portable. I mean, it makes for a small game. You don't have to spend hours on your game. So the board's just it's a small 3-part fold-out. It's not as large as like a Yahtzee board, but it's smaller than like a, I don't know, what would you describe it as?
It's smaller than an average board
Yeah,
game.
it's
by
smaller
maybe,
than a checkers board.
You
It's
could
basically
cut it
this-
out of one of the squares of a fold-out.
You
from
could
the
probably
board.
make.
It's about the
four
size of a
these out
spiral notebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
You make probably 4 boards of this game out of one good-sized checkerboard.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's important, but it is. I mean, we have to know exactly.
You have to know
big
exactly how big
the
it
board.
is.
Well, it's nice for if you want to take it, say, on a car ride.
Yeah, you could take it on a picnic, or
You actually just put it in a very large pocket.
it's very transportable.
Yeah, like you could go, like if you're on campus and you want to have a little fun before your next class, just pick out the board game and lay it out on the table, and there you go. Lay it out in the grass. It's not like, I mean, they have very small pieces, but they're kind of bright and in your face, so it's not like you could lose them too easily.
That's very cool. Okay.
Continue, Sebastian?
Yeah.
But yeah, then we get down to the real fun part. The actual way you play the game. You receive a set amount of cards. I don't remember the starting number.
5.
5. Yeah.
5 cards, and then 2 cards. 1 purple and 1 white. Now, each one of your actual playing cards has, say, a phrase in white and a phrase in purple. And on each card, if you play that card, you have to choose whether or not you prefer the phrase in white or the phrase in purple. Whether it be a type of food or an activity.
Why
Or-
don't you choose a card and give an
Yeah, give us
example?
an example.
That's a great idea, Larry. So, choosing a card at random here, and it says the Flintstones or the Jetsons.
Hey, that was my card.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so, were I to play this card, I would have to choose either the Flintstones, represented by the white color, or the Jetsons, represented by the purple color. Now, say I were to choose the Flintstones. I would take my white card and lay it face down on the table to indicate that I've chosen that one, but not to show anyone else what I've chosen. I would then present the choice to them and let them guess to which one I picked.
which we would then take one of our cards, because everyone has a purple and a white one. And you show your card to the person who's choosing, and then they show their card, and if you match, then you get to move up. And if everyone gets the same choice, then no one moves, and if the person who has made the decision is the only person who got it right, meaning no one agreed with the person choosing, then he or she gets to move up 2 spaces instead of 1, like the normal count.
And on the game board, there's only like 12 actual, 10
There's
actual
11.
spaces.
There's 10, and then there's the winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the game actually tends to go really fast, and if people don't actually know you, it will go really fast.
Yeah, everybody's like,
And there is
And
a
you thought you knew somebody until you played this game.
yeah, and there actually is there's a pretty good amount of cards, so you can actually
Oh, there's a ton of cards.
yeah, there's a lot more cards than I had originally expected. It's
What
like
is the
3
player
or
amount?
4 decks of cards.
The player amount was
Oh,
up to
it's-
like 8 or 10.
No, it's 3 to 10 players,
Yeah.
age 14 up, for 20 to 40 minutes. It's more like 10 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think this could take 40 minutes, especially with more.
the more players
people.
you had, the faster it would go.
Yeah, the least people you have, the more chance you would have everybody choosing the same.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
We played this at our New Year's celebration, and there was a lot of people playing, maybe
Yeah.
10.
What was really? Go ahead.
It was funny because a lot of the time we would choose so many different cards, and a lot of people didn't know something about another person, and instead of playing it to the winner, we would play like best 3 out of 5 because of how fast the game was going with us.
Right. Yeah.
At one point, we actually just stopped using the game board and the pieces,
And just started
playing with the cards.
It
Just see
was
how many we.
fun.
It's like Lissa, another tavernier. She could not actually get anywhere because everyone knows her so well. It was like opera or westerns. Everyone's like westerns, and it was like no one even. We just like, bam.
Well, I would have got
Get
that
the card.
one wrong.
Yeah.
There's the card. And she just was like, I'm just gonna sit back and watch you guys play because I can't do any of it
Yep, she
because everyone
was-
knows her so well.
Yeah, it was cool. And then of course, the comment that Josh made earlier about him and Larry needing counseling. It was really funny because
We were a happy couple.
yeah,
We were. Until this damn game.
yeah. But yeah, it was
careful.
it was really it was really funny because Josh kept guessing wrong, and to the point about Lyric, the love of his life, and he
Or so I thought.
he well you just
I would
don't,
hope that I would be the love of
you
your
don't-
life.
You are
even
the
if-
love of my life, honey.
but you don't have to know her that well apparently, because
We have
he
connection.
guessed wrong so many times. I'm like, Josh, have you met my daughter? And he's like, apparently not.
And he had guessed wrong at least, I think it was 3 times in a row, and it was cookies or cake, and I preferred cake over cookies because I like the fluffy.
The warm and chewy.
See,
Chocolate
if I could have fluffy over
cookie.
chewy, and I can't guarantee that it's chewy, and this is why this game could cause a little bit of a
Could cause
problem.
some issues because it makes people talk like that.
I'm sorry, I was fantasizing about cookies. Fantasizing.
Well, when he got to that point, he's like, "You better choose cookies," and I'm like, "I like cake." He's like, "That's it," and he put his
it.
cards down and walked away.
Yeah,
And then I came back because that's not how I roll.
Well, it's not even an argument.
show
Of
her
course,
up.
cookies would win.
Yeah, of course.
I like cake
course.
better,
Thank you.
but
Cake is an
anyway.
occasional thing.
I've always felt closer to Sebastian. I'm second to our relationships.
Why, thank you, honey. That means a lot. Sebastian, you were talking about your opinion of playing the game, since it was your first time playing it right before this show.
Yes, actually, I found the game to be really exciting. I mean, it opened up new possibilities to, this genre of game that I have never seen, actually.
Yeah, it's honestly the first game that I've seen like this. I mean, there are other games like Apples to Apples and Factor Crap, and there are a lot of games that you choose.
Flux.
you choose games that have
it's
two options, but this is the only one that I've seen quite like this game.
Yeah.
So if you like games that are fast-paced and Sebastian, would you please tell us your opinion of this game since you just played it right before the radio show?
Well, I mean, it pretty much sums down to it's a good way to pass about 10 to 15 minutes of your time, depending on the amount of players. It'd be great for road trips, but it's not something that if I'm sitting at home, I'm going to bust out and be excited about. So it's more like a travel game.
That makes sense.
Well, you think it would be a
Yeah.
good party game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say it would depend on the people you
It
invite.
would depend on the party. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they
Yeah.
were, if they would look trustworthy, they could join your party. Yeah, that little tribute to Dead Gentleman.
Shout out.
Shout out to the Dead Gentleman.
Hilarious movie.
Yeah, movie. Yes, it was. It was really enjoyable.
What did you think of the game Choose One?
Well, I actually prefer it as just a strict card game over a card and board game. It's more fun for me and everyone else that I have played with to just grab a big handful of cards. Each of us grab a big monster chunk of cards, and just go through these questions and see if we can get them right. Because we played for so long that we actually started to get reruns in our cards, and we would have beaten the game probably 30 or 40 times in a row because we actually played it on Thanksgiving. We played it throughout Thanksgiving, just constantly just playing these
we did.
cards. It was incredibly fun.
Yeah,
That's also when we figured out everyone knows Lissa very well.
I
Yeah.
don't think I was there for that game when you just used the cards.
Oh, it was great.
I bet it was
Yeah.
because it sounds like a lot of fun.
It really is. We
It
might
was.
play it after this.
It was tremendous fun. Yeah. So, okay. So, as far as axes go, from 1 to 4 axes, Sebastian, what would you give it?
I'd probably give it about a 3, honestly.
How would you justify that? Why 3?
I'd say a 3 just because it is really fun. It's, a new concept. It's very original in its basis. But as Ian said, there were things that just shouldn't have been there, like the board.
Uh-huh.
If it was a straight card game based
Card.
off points or something like that, I might lean towards maybe 3.5 or 4.
Okay.
But it just feels like it's got too much.
I see. Okay.
Too much.
With the board and, adding the pieces.
It was a lot more fun as a card game.
He
As
likes,
just
he likes
like
games that just have one card.
It says you win.
You win, and that's it.
He's like, he
Well, as we
opens
all
up the
know,
game,
I always
bam. Yeah, of course.
Yes, we do.
Even though you got like last place.
No.
But that's only because I was playing against the wiener.
Well, you
We
know.
wins.
I always get the hot dog
I always
minifigure,
get
so that's
the-
mine. I'm the wiener.
The bottle.
And I'm the nut.
It's empty.
Yeah, I played the rocket ship that time. So.
Rocket ship. Yeah.
And for some reason, you always get the button coming up the rear.
That's a really interesting
Spot
phrasing.
on, sir.
Sure. I can see that.
What would you rate it on a 0 to 4 axe scale, Ian?
On a 0 to 4. I'm actually gonna have to agree with Sebastian for a 3, and for pretty much the same reasons. Because the board.
Yeah, see, Sebastian wins again.
Yeah, Sebastian wins again. I agree because it doesn't need. It does not need
Someone get him a
the
lead.
the board game pieces racing to the end. I guess competition.
Uh-huh.
It's so much more fun because it really has absolutely nothing to do with competition.
Right.
It's like
yeah.
we win, okay. Then it feels like they needed a goal for every yes and no to actually build up toward.
Right.
So without the board, then it just because without the board game and without the board and the pieces, there would have been no goal to achieve, meaning you could play for any length of time. I actually prefer it like that. I don't know about you guys, but
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game that we played, and it ended up being over. We didn't even realize we were close to being over.
yeah. So I preferred it to be just something we can constantly play, and stop at any point in time than it being a to-win game. The competition wasn't needed because of the spirit of the actual game.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Larry, what about you?
I would give it a 3.5. I enjoyed it quite a lot. It was a very fun game. It was very social. I'm kind of an introvert, so that was a nice break from my, normal day life. And I have to say that the board game, I understand it. I agree that it would be a little more fun if it didn't have a goal, but standing for the devil's advocate, the fact that there is a goal for the game makes it, an actual game.
Right.
So I think that the board was necessary for this type of game. I think what they could have done was added instructions for other types of games.
Yeah, they're actually quite famous for that because of their
the Flux
the
title.
diversity.
Actually, a very good example of that would be the Flux board game, and how the entirety of the board
can
changes.
And their triangle, their pyramid games with the pink
so many games.
some of the different
I
games.
think that if what Ian said could be turned into a game of its own, maybe have a scrap piece of paper in there to write down, like, if you get this person right for so many points, then you win against them, or something like that. I don't know, maybe. But I would give it a 3.5 because I enjoyed it. It's a game that a lot of people can play. I honestly think that the age limit should be lower because
little kids.
little kids would enjoy that. They would enjoy the crap out
Actually,
of that.
they should come out with a junior version,
Right.
Because it asks, like peanut butter and jelly or
Right, yeah. Not something
man,
that
that'd be
crabs-
difficult for little
crab
kids.
souffle.
there are some of the cards have choices that I don't understand. Like, I don't even know what that is. So, and maybe if it were a junior version with more like,
Brie or Roquefort.
maybe if it were more generalized, like sci-fi versus fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, they have a card like that.
Picard or Kirk.
Death Wish or Battle Royale?
That would be a hard one.
What about you, Josh? What would you rate this game?
I think I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Especially for
We were doing
Honey.
a 4 to 4.
you
We're
said
doing
out of-
fours.
Is
Well,
zero
it's
to-
so good. It's gonna get 4 out of no.
You know what you did? Well, it's so good. It's gonna get a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I agree. 3 out of 5 is pretty
Honey.
perfect. What?
Out of 4.
Okay, 2 out of 5. Is that better?
You're gonna keep lowering until you love me.
Okay, I agree. 3 out of 4 is a very good score for this. And you were saying how to do it for children. I think that would be I think it'd be a great idea. And, for the older crowd, it can very much be a drinking game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the first person to hit the floor loses.
What do you think of that?
Well, so in wrapping this up, I'm going to give this game. I'm going to give it a 3.5 because I think it's totally cool. It's super easy to learn, which is huge. Don't you agree? Super easy to learn.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Incredible. Well, Sebastian was.
Microphone.
Oh, boom! Dudge. I hit face on my.
I think it was very easy to learn because Sebastian just picked it up today. All of us have played it at
Yeah.
least once
Trying
beforehand.
to say something here?
Listen to me.
We're just so
And if
proud.
Sebastian can
of
you learn it,
Okay.
Sebastian
better
can learn. You can
example.
teach it to your dog.
You can,
Better example. I think this
I
is
think the
very.
Russians use it to train monkeys
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they
for
do.
space. That was a lot funnier in my head.
Yeah, it was. That's where it should have stayed.
Oh.
Oh.
I think
You
this
can
game.
stay.
Shut his mic off.
Let me finish and I'm done. Let me finish. Go.
I think this game was very easy to learn because when the rest of the tavern had played it, but me and Josh hadn't, and we came over for Thanksgiving. I said New Year's earlier. I correct myself. And we played it for the first time. we were able to play along. Like, we had been playing it with the rest of the family the entire time.
Very
right.
easy to pick up.
Yeah,
and
it has
learn.
like no learning curve whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's
And-
amazing.
And you know, the fact that you can learn from others about others in this game, it's so easy to learn. There has to be some kind of a competition, or it wouldn't be a game. I guess I don't know. It would just otherwise
That's
it would
why
be
it's called a game.
It would be an activity. So I'll give it a 3.5. When we return, we're going to take another break, and when we return, we are going to talk about metagaming.
We are going to do DT tips specifically on how to
Avoid.
avoid metagaming.
Avoid metagaming. So we'll be right back. This is Dwarven Tavern Radio. Don't go away. She walks into the room like a movie star, sits down in a chair like a queen on a throne, takes a short draw off a long cigarette, cuts through banality like a samurai, but it's not real. It's not real. Hypnotizes like a cobra. He's a wizard with a forked silver tongue, with platinum and silk in the promises he makes. He chews up reality like a crocodile, but it's not real. It's not real.
And when their eyes meet, lightning balls will fall. Their illusions made of stone. Their egos small like dominoes, and they both know they won't leave there alone. You sure? And when their eyes meet, lightning balls will fall. Their illusions made of stone. Their egos small like dominoes, and they both know they won't leave there alone.
Okay, a point I would like to bring up would be the context of some of these cards. Like I have one in my hand here. It's phone call or text message.
Okay.
Now, for what?
For what purpose?
It's like, okay, phone call, text message. Which one do you prefer? Which one would you prefer have done? Which one do you prefer to do?
Which one what situation would you use them for?
Right,
Exactly.
right, like,
And thing is, sorry for interrupting, but a lot of them do that.
yeah. Yeah, that is true. Like if if you're calling someone about a job, you don't text them.
Exactly.
Even though you might prefer, but I think this is just really super general.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it actually
it's
has to be.
crazy high general because like phone call or text message. I would say I would say that I would prefer texting, but if there's an emergency, if I need to call like my mom or my father, I will call them. I will not just text them.
Right.
But I prefer to text.
Right.
So it's very contextual.
I think that, in my opinion, I think that doing, what's the word I'm looking for? Hang on, let me start over. I think that the definition of what the specification of what that card says is really up to the people playing the game, because if you don't specify, then it's less likely that the people will guess that what you are.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you.
I think we get
Even
it.
with an uncompleted
Or-
sentence, we understood.
Or you could specify and make it super specific, and the people will be like, oh, okay, well then, yeah, this is what.
Or you could
will
leave
be
it
like.
incredibly general and just make them like it's like if you
Make them
like what was one, hiking or swimming, and you don't say anything about it at all, and they'll be like,
What do-
swimming.
You like both
Right,
of them. I don't know
right.
what to pick.
Exactly. So
Okay.
Josh wanted to bring up something as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one more point.
Yeah.
A lot of these cards have really fun and interesting things written on them. But let's say that you may just not something on there that you may want to add. They have a handful of cards. It's about 20 of them maybe of just blank cards, blank white,
cards where you could
blank
Yeah.
blank white, blank purple, and just add your own stuff to it, which is something Looney Labs is really good for, and is allowing people to create their own, creating more and adding to their games.
Very
Well,
cool.
What would be cool is if people could send their ideas for these cards out, and they
Yeah.
could create special editions.
Yeah, that would be awesome as
Special
well.
editions like the Smith edition.
Maybe
or-
sword and axe.
The fan
or...
version.
Yeah, the fan versions.
Right, yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, it would be. Well, all right. So, moving on, we are going to be discussing the topic of yes.
Did you do the ISBN number?
I did not do the ISBN number. Please hit that for me.
Oh, the ISBN number for Looney Labs Choose One is 857-848-004048.
Excellent. And now we are going to DT tips and tricks, and this edition we are talking about
Metagaming and what not to do for your characters.
what not to do. That's very important to know.
Josh, will you do us the favor of explaining what metagaming is?
Metagaming is a player using knowledge that the player is not meant to have, such as using certain types of attacks or defense based on the strength or weakness of an opponent that the player's character is unaware of. Like, say, this character takes X amount more damage if you attack with a fire attack. Now, the player playing him may not know that. I mean, may or may not know that, but the character in the story, likely, unless he was told otherwise, does not know that.
I guess a good example of that would be you have a wizard in your party, and you guys happen across a beholder. Unfortunate, but the and I believe 3.5 beholders have a their main eye, their centralized eye, has a cone of anti-magic, and if your wizard doesn't know that, what?
Sorry,
What was going on
when
there?
you nodded over, you're like in 3.5. I'm like,
It's in 3.5.
okay.
And Sebastian.
Continue.
In 3.5, the beholder, I'm pretty sure the beholder has an anti-magic, cone of effect in front of its main eye.
Yeah.
Just said main eye like twice. But anyways, it, just kind of, like, you can't magic in front of a beholder. It's like, you're not allowed to do that here.
I did not know that.
Right.
Yeah, you didn't know that.
I did
So,
not know that because
now that you do, if you play a wizard and find a beholder and he does not know, you can't just be like, oh, wait a minute, I know that. So
well,
you're
I
like,
had a monk. It didn't really matter.
yeah, and I had a fighter. I had no ranged weapons either, so that was fun. Anyways,
You stick that sword in the eye of the beholder.
hey,
Oh.
the sword is in the eye of the beholder.
That sword must be beautiful.
Well, like when my character, as the monk mentioned,
As the monk mentioned?
as the monk mentioned,
Apparently there's a monk in the tavern.
Well,
my-
probably.
It probably is. You just never know it.
my character, along those lines, was given a rope that quivered in his hand and was able to hold more weight than any other rope he had, and so on and so forth. And he didn't know that it was a +2 elven rope to non-snapping. I
Also
guess.
believe it was
Right.
somewhat silk or something.
Yeah, it
like
was
that,
it was
wasn't
elven
Silky.
silk,
Yeah.
and he didn't know what it was. He never figured it out. He wasn't a very materialistic person, being a monk. So
Right.
he had no. If it worked for him, then that's great. But the fact that it was elven, I wrote it down on his character sheet that it was elven. But
Yeah,
he
you wrote
himself
down
didn't
you wrote
know.
down all of what it was, but he did not know. Another good example of that would be the bard in that same party found just a regular bag of holding
I completely
with-
forgot about that.
with all of these gems in it, and a bard. Everyone was like, "So what you got there?" And it's this tiny little bag, and he's like looking at seeing all this like all these enormous rubies, like nothing at all, just a tiny little bag. And we're like, "We know you're lying, but what's in the bag?" He's like, "An entire treasury."
I was like, no,
And we're like,
come on.
no, you're
right.
But the thing is, they didn't know what it was. We all knew because the DM told us who was my father, Jeff, right there, the guy across the room here.
That would be me.
He was like, you found a bag of holding, and it's got this much money, that much this, and this much that. And none of us had an appraise. None of us had an appraise at that time, so we had no idea how much was in the bag. So
Right.
if we took that to a market, we couldn't just say, okay, I've got this much gold worth in rubies.
Right.
We would have to get it appraised, and we could actually know that we got it appraised, and it was appraised too low. Our characters wouldn't know it was appraised too low, but we would, and we couldn't actually apply that.
Right.
So our characters would be like, okay, so it must be this, because the appraiser said so, even though we know that's like 10,000 gold more.
Right. And I personally, one of my most irritating pet peeves is when people take the game out of universe. When I personally, since I've Dungeon Master a lot, I spend a lot of time trying to get the mood in universe. And when someone says, "Oh, the DM wants us to turn left," or something
So
like
we
that.
may as well
Yeah.
turn right.
Let's just turn.
Aw.
Let's just that's what the dungeon master wants us to do.
Why do you keep trying to kill me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's
God.
enormous. There was a guy who.
Bless Paylor, that's annoying.
Yeah. He was a first time player, and he knew about the game. And he came and sat in with us once, and he rolled up some kind of a shaman with a crow familiar, and not being a very bright move. They were attacked by orcs.
That's
It's
standard.
pretty
It was like,
standard
first
stuff.
level character get attacked by orcs. Well, isn't that?
That's
routine.
you do.
That's what
you do. It's a
happens.
rite of passage. You have
Orcs are
to
like,
meet-
so how many first level characters? Like 3, and we send up 4 or 5 orcs. Like, yeah, they should be able to get us.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
yeah.
should level them up.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't like that either. But the formula, that's the reason I don't do 4th edition. But anyway, with the orcs, the orcs attack, and the first thing he did, which really kind of freaked me out, was he sent his crow companion to attack the orcs, and he stood back to
A crow.
st-
One crow.
and crow, yes.
And crow.
Pet the living crap out of you.
And apparently that's what he was thinking, and they just dispatched it post haste, cut off one of its wings, stomped it. It was dead.
Ate it, why not?
And
Look,
and
hey, look, this crow's drawn. Like, oh no! Says, hey, Bob, get him. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get a crow. I got it. Oh no! That was delicious.
Oh, look at him go!
yeah, and so for the next half hour, he kept saying to me, "Oh, I'm going to get you for this."
Like,
And
we're
I'm like,
not
"What are you
playing
talking
against
about?
each
You
other.
threw your crow at an orc, and you were surprised that it got eaten." He said, "But it was my crow. You should have given him a chance." And I was like, "Dude, I'm not making the decisions. It's the orcs that are deciding what to do in this situation. I am just acting out what they did because I know how orcs behave, what they do. I studied their behavior that was a weird thing to say.
Well,
but
you've gamed so long, you know
I've
exactly
been
how they're
gaming
supposed to
since
act.
chainmail, as I mentioned earlier in the show. So, yeah, way back there as I point behind me. And so I know what orcs will do, and that's what they do. It's pretty obvious that if a human being got attacked by a crow, they would get it.
A crow can't really do much
Yeah.
to an anything.
Yeah, they intimidate people who are afraid of birds. Yeah, but
They intimidate people who think of crows as bad omen.
it's bad omen
Yeah.
like, at a distance.
He
But
could
if
have used it to distract them or
if
something.
if a crow got up in my face, I would bite it off. So, orcs.
I had a friend who she loved gaming.
I didn't play with him again, by the way.
Yeah, we got that by the. He was over once.
He was. So you had a friend.
I had a friend who loved gaming. She would love to take part in gaming, and she would do everything she could to impress the people around her. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually nice to know that a person wants to get into gaming so much that they want your approval.
Right.
But if
Don't be too overbearing with it, by the way.
if she did something good, then obvious reward was in place, like experience points and gold on the occasion.
What not?
What?
I said what not and what not.
Yes, and she would be like, "Yeah, that's right, blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm the best, whatevs," and then we would move on. But the moment that she would start taking damage in mass quantity, like if she was facing, say, a centaur, and
Oh God.
she, like, the moment she started falling under 10 out of 40 hit points, she would look me dead in the eye and say, "You're trying to kill me. Why are you trying to kill me? I'm not doing anything wrong." And she would try to put on this pity party. I'm like, I am not playing against you. I am laying out a
Yeah,
story
it's-
for
it's-
you
it's
to
Wait a minute.
go through, you know.
40 HP?
That was an example.
Going
I
against a
didn't.
centaur? You're a cruel mistress.
It was an example. It wasn't centaur. It was
Minotaur?
no.
Was that the same
it
person that
wasn't
attacked us
four-
with like 5
Cyclops.
wargs?
Yes,
A
but
Phaethon?
no, it had
she
nothing to
who
do
must
with
not
four
be
legs.
named.
It was
Yeah.
a dark mantle,
A dark.
Oh.
and they had just
Dark Mantles.
her entire group. That you actually played in this one.
Yeah.
And their entire group went into the dungeon, and then dark mantles were lining the ceiling.
Oh God.
And they were like,
I remember that.
we'll just sneak really quietly past. And she, being a paladin, she thought that she had to do the righteous thing and kill them all when she was second level. And the dark mantles came down, and
Like a
they-
bombing run.
And she was like, "You're trying to kill me. Why are you trying to kill me? I'm not doing anything wrong." And it's not good gaming.
Very annoying.
In all-
In this situation,
And it
I
real-
think you are.
Actually,
It's
in
very
all
annoying,
honesty.
and it really breaks the
Mood.
rhythm and mood of the
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
like it no longer feels like you're in game. It
And-
starts to feel like you're just surrounded by a bunch of people playing a game.
And you guys, I forget which one of you mentioned it, had another good point, which was one of the things that I've been doing since first edition is trying to. I mean, this has been a huge issue since the beginning of my gaming. Is describing the magic and other things that the characters find.
I think that was him.
Yeah, it was. Describing the magic and the other things that the characters find without taking it out of game, out of universe. See, you go out of universe into the game, and when you get into the game, it loses its fun. When you stay in universe, you say you find a
Magic.
This is actually what I've done. This is actually what I've done in the old game. I said, okay, you find a sword, and pick it up. Okay, it tingles in your hand, and he's like, okay, that's cool. It's magical. I need a magic sword right now. It would really help. And I'm like, okay, so you do. And so what do you do with it? I guess I'll unsheath it. Could be cursed, but I'll unsheath it. And I'm like, okay, well, you very carefully unsheath it. and it has a name carved into the hilt protector in an elder rune from a very old language. He's like, well, I'll try to read it. I said, okay. And then I'd have him, roll to see if he could read it, and he would make the roll.
A scribe scroll or something
he
like
actually, that. Yeah, he actually read. He made his roll. I said, okay, so you make out, you determine, and it says a word, and I told him the word. He said, okay, all right, that's probably the name of the sword. I said, yeah. He said, well, since it's magical, I'm gonna see if saying that name out aloud makes anything happen, if it does something. And he said, okay. And he says the name. He holds the sword aloft and says the name. And it goes and bursts into flame in his hands, and it burns from the tip down to the hilt. And he brandishes it around, and then he says the name again, and the fire goes out, and the blade is still cool to the touch. And he was all giggly, like you might expect. And it's like, okay. And he says, this is awesome. I sheath it. I put it in my sheath in replacement of my other sword that I just kind of dropped. And I said, okay, very cool. And he said, so what is it? And I said, all right, well, it's a +1 flame tongue magic sword. It gets +1, does 1 to 8. And when you say the command word, it sets a blade on fire, does an extra d6 of fire damage when you hit something.
Not bad.
Not bad. Okay, so that was...
And that's how a good gamer do.
That's how the good gamer do. That's right, because we covered the actual discovery and use of the sword in universe, and then we made like a little sidebar or a little parenthetical where I gave him the actual stats.
Yeah.
That's what I do when I DM. I set up the thing that they're going through, and I make sure that all the NPCs are acting out their appropriate parts. And then, say I'm gaming with Josh and he's playing Niven, he finds some sort of magical device that he can use, and and you put on the bracers around your wrists, and all of a sudden you feel this great strength well into your fists, and you feel like you could run 1,000 miles, and that's great because you're a wizard. And
hey.
Them wizards be wizards.
It's a warlock.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's a
Such
Touchy.
difference.
And a sorcerer.
Well, after I was done explaining this and had the old wizard Drugrom tell him about it, and how it would help him do his spells and whatnot, I told him, okay, now those are actually, I was like, out of game. I actually say out of game to let them know that I was not talking as Drugrom anymore. And I said, okay, that's a +8 bracer for this and that. It gives you this. He was a very powerful wizard, all alone in the swamp. What were you expecting?
Well, actually, does he have any other armor at all?
He gave Kellery no, you had a +9.
No, I got a +8 bracers, and then I have padded armor I have light padded armor with just a robe on top of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Kellery
Boots
had
and cloth.
That spell failure of 2%.
5%.
5%.
Kellery,
Almost.
Which I don't think works into my character with warlocks and stuff. Maybe it does. I don't
Do
know.
that.
Kellery.
Arcane spells can fail.
Kellery had bracers, one less than his, so he had bracers of +7 strength, which he's a half orc, so
+7 strength?
yeah.
My
No, it
God.
wasn't
No,
strength,
it was strength. It was
AC.
It was I almost said acceleration.
Oh God, +7 strength.
Yeah, I was like, God.
I'm sorry, my
Who
bad.
would use Gauntlets of Ogre Strength? And I've got bracers of manliness.
No, but it was for their AC. It was for their armor class. I mess up. I'm sorry.
Okay, I was about to say,
And-
you're pretty lenient. There, Mrs. will attack second level
Why
characters
am-
with a centaur.
I got
It was
+8 strength.
the
Why
first
am
thing
I
that I
a
could
warlock?
think
If I can't zap them, I'll just squeeze their head off.
But that's
Proceed.
what I do. Is I
Yeah.
do exactly what you do. I just say along the lines of
make
saying.
the actual
out of
game
game.
stats a parenthetical. This is like, you find this magic sword and blah blah blah, and 10 minutes of description and go, it's +2. and then you move on, so the person playing can stay in character.
I actually did something similar, but he never actually. Actually, Sebastian, he sat next to me. His character Finrod found this this massive this massive like sentient suit of golden armor, which he had no idea what was, and he was like, "Can this thing understand me?" And it nodded, and he was like, "Okay."
All
He was like,
right.
"All right, can I wear you?" And it just went, "No." It just was on him, and
Wow.
it actually formed to his body.
You sure it wasn't just really friendly?
I still never figured out what that thing was.
But he felt ridiculously powerful. He felt like he could take on the world.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? I'm going to punch this giant wall next to me. And his fist just like broke and destroyed the bricks. And he's like,
just gonna leave it at it as his
his fist broke.
His fist just broke.
And it's like he felt so much more powerful than he had ever felt before.
It's
And-
a suit of delusion.
He took the suit off, and he never figured out what it did, ever. He had no idea what it did.
And that is actually sometimes the point. That's sometimes the point of finding something is figuring out how it works. I've played with a lot of dungeon masters that say, okay, you find a wand of fireballs. It's like, well,
It says it on it.
it's
Wand
a wand
of
of fireballs. It's in a little glass case. You
From
break
the-
it and you
from the
break
Wand
in
O
case of need
Fireball
of fire.
Company.
Yeah, from the Acme Fireball Company. They send a wand of fire. And that takes a lot of the. Honestly, it takes out a lot of the magic
Yeah.
from the game.
I have to agree with that.
The romance of the whole thing, because if he had told you that it was like a suit of lordly might, or actually explained it
That
to
sounds
you,
awesome.
it really does. It is like a nice little tie and
Makes
smoking
you quaint.
jacket. It's a suit of lordly might. Yeah, I'm lordly. But to actually be told what it is out of game, in game, it ruins the romance and the mystery of the game. For me.
Totally agree.
So I agree with this as being a really important issue, as metagaming. Metagaming it's bad. It's just bad. Sometimes
And
it's
another-
necessary.
Another form of metagaming is, as a player, trying to tell another player what to do.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's like, okay, this guy's like 5 miles away doing this thing, and this guy's in a cave, and he's like, you want to know what? You should ask that guy if he could bring me some rope. It's
Yeah.
like,
And the players
How am I
are
talking to you?
sitting next to each other.
yeah, exactly.
But the characters are miles apart. And I always do this when somebody says somebody was the party. I don't even remember who it was, but the party was going up. They were staying behind. The party was staying behind, and
I think it was Lobo and Toro.
one of the players was going up to talk to the Caleb Durr, the rock man.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
And
that
they were-
wasn't with us.
Yeah, it might not have been, but somebody said it was multiple people in the party. One person went up to talk to the Caleb Durr. They went up to talk to the rock man, and the guys were sitting right next to each other. And the Caleb Durr said, "Yes, what would you like to know?" And the guy said, "Well, we want to know where we can find this person." And the other guy next to him said, "Oh, ask him about how powerful he is." He said, "Ask him about how powerful he is." And we all looked at him, and I said, "And you hear wafting across the wind, ask him about how powerful he is." And he's like, "Oh, I'm not there." We're like,
Yeah, so
no,
shut
sir,
up."
you're not. so shut up.
That's something that you like to do as a DM whenever our campaigns split up, which is quite
I
often.
think
Now
that's
we
when I
just do
actually
it on
started
purpose so
doing
you'll make fun of us.
Bring back some candy.
Avenge me!
Avenge me. Well, you're dead, so shut up.
So, like, when
Good times.
I actually
But
just
you
said
were-
so, like when.
So, like when?
So, like when. I could murder
You
my
were-
face.
You were gonna say that. Were you gonna say that sometimes metagaming is okay
Well,
or appropriate?
sometimes metagaming is necessary just to convey the stats of a magic weapon, or to talk about something that the player needs to know. And this was another huge contention among the first age gamers that I gamed with, because we were actually in the process of converting ourselves to D&D characters. And one of my friends said my intelligence would be like 25, 23. And we're like, since when? And we had a good laugh, and he got indignant, and he said, no, serious. Since I'm educated in the modern world, I would know so much more than any of them in the D&D world.
And that would automatically make it a 25. That would make it so much higher than 25.
And I said, yeah, but, do you know how to tan leather? And do you know how to
Sharpen a sword, make some
Yeah.
arrows.
Do you know the things that they know? I said, it's not more knowledge that you have, it's different knowledge. It's an entirely different knowledge set. And that's not really... That kind of is metagaming, because we were actually converting ourselves into characters at that time.
Yeah, but you went in with the sole purpose of doing that.
Yeah, right. And that's I think that's the only time that metagaming is acceptable. When-
All other times, it seems like it's the character, the person playing the character, just trying to be smarter than everybody else.
Yeah.
Actually, you want to know what? Hey, Sebastian. You have some pretty good examples of things I've just blatantly told you in our campaigns, and you're like, does Finrod know this? And I'd be like, no, he does not. So for a lot of times when you were...
Sebastian's very good about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can pretty much just tell him what the entire campaign is, and he'll be like, okay, does my guy know that? And it's like, no, you don't.
I try to roll with it as if it wasn't me playing them, but it was me observing the world as though I were them.
You roll with it as in a D20.
Haha.
Or D6.
40, D6 good helps too.
But it's
15.
D12s. They're the most loneliest dice.
They rarely get used.
that's true.
Yeah.
Which ones?
D12s.
I love D12s.
I saw.
They love you too.
I saw a Kickstarter where somebody was marketing D12s with 2 sets of D6 on them, just so people would be able to roll more D12s.
Well, that's actually pretty cool.
I thought it was.
I got a
cool.
D20 that has just D10.
Two 10s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were you saying before
I was saying that well, I was saying that an easy way that I've noticed to avoid metagaming would be, instead of seeing it as though you're playing the game, or even seeing it as though you're guiding someone in that universe through it, see it as though you're looking at this world or universe through that person's eyes. You are that person,
Yeah. Yes.
but at the same time you're not.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting look.
That is very cool. That's a very cool way to look at it. And I think that's good advice. Do you have you do that with your own characters, right?
I try. I mean, sometimes it slips in without you noticing. It's hard to avoid.
Right.
Like as I forget who it was. I think it was Josh mentioned. If you notice, like a perfect example was his campaign where we had Ian's character beating up on the Iron Golem.
Uh-huh.
We all knew its weakness and what it was healed by, and we played on that.
Right.
It's hard to stop that stuff.
And when
Yeah, it really
I
is.
never
It really
said as a DM either, you do know. Like as a DM, I never said you do know that that's not doing anything, right? Like that's also metagaming
Yeah,
by
yeah.
the DM.
The DM
Yeah.
saying it's like I'm gonna blast this. Let's see,
A flesh golem
Like-
with a lightning bolt.
Kazap, and the DM's like, okay. I think it's hilarious we all get that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
Roll your
I'm sure
regenerated health
everyone
points.
listening to this probably does.
Yes.
But it's like the DM, not only can the DM not say anything about what's going on, it's like, let's see, there's like you come across a Mind Eater, and you're highly psionic, or a Mind Flayer, and you're like, I'm gonna blast him with,
There's flayers, eaters, and devourers.
I'm like, let's see, I just can't really think of anything off the top of my head.
Scion.
Psionics. Like, I'm gonna Mind Crush him. And it's like, okay. And the DM's actually thinking, you're really gonna go against a Mind Flayer with Psionics,
Yeah,
huh?
That's adorable.
That's smart.
Your decisions are just so cute.
And he promptly is destroyed.
Yeah, I actually screwed that up the first time I ever DM'd. It was actually right after that Iron Golem battle, and Lyric's character was investigating the giant. The Iron Golem was kept in a Iron Maiden, essentially, and behind it, inside the Iron Maiden, the back, the wall was crushed, and I said, you see that? I said to Lyric's character, you see that it's crumbled, and it kind of looks like a doorway. It looks like there's a door back there. I was like, oh.
That's not what I should have said just then.
Like, oh, would you mind rephrasing that so I don't know what you're talking about?
Because there's a good way to rephrase that
there's
would
a
have been.
passage.
He's like, it looks like the wall could easily be crumbled away, like there's
Or
nothing
there might
supporting
be an
it.
opening there if you work hard enough.
You look around and you see that there's 50 feet of 50 feet of wall to this side, and one part of the wall looks a lot like a secret door.
I mean,
Yeah.
Unless you rolled for the character behind the screen.
And another thing that I like to do is I like to roll spot and listen checks for people sometimes, because you say, roll a spot check,
Yeah,
and they say, I got a 10, and I was like, okay, so moving on. They're like, what? I'm like,
that's what
You
it
didn't-
is.
you didn't see it.
It's better than as like, okay, roll a spot check. It's like, nah, it's a 6. You don't see it.
you don't see it.
It's like, what?
What? I don't see why. You didn't
actually-
notice. You didn't see a thing.
And
Actually,
you
what you
take
do
5 points
is
of damage.
what you do, Dad, is when you roll, you're like, okay, now roll a spot check. Okay, 17. Okay.
Yeah.
And then blah blah blah. I'm like, what was that for?
Yeah, I
I'm
rolled a spot
curious.
check.
I wonder.
What did I not see that was really well hidden that a 17 wouldn't see?
Well, then no. Sometimes you go on to explain. You just roll it ahead of time so that when it comes to that particular moment, I'm the only one who sees it.
Right.
So I think that's pretty.
He also makes sure
Cunning.
he gets
Cunning.
all of our stats.
I'm a
It's like,
CDM.
okay, it's like your search is 8, your spot's like 15 or whatever level character you are.
Right.
Because like your search is your spot's 15, and you roll a spot, you get a 10, so you get a 25. But you didn't roll. The DM rolled.
Yeah,
so
the DM rolled,
he
'cause
rolls
the DM
behind his screen, so that's why the DMs are rolling all the time. It's like,
The
make sure
DM's
they
just
don't know
he
this.
is a hotbed of rolling dice.
Yeah.
And and I do that all the time just to see if you guys notice something. And that's why the stats that I require from my players when I write them down are your hit points, your AC, because I don't want to kill anybody unless I have to. And I get your hit points, I get your AC. Then I ask for your saves, because sometimes you guys make saves without knowing it. And
Ho ho.
yeah, a lot. And I do your spot and your listen. And there you have it. And that's what I do. So any parting advice for people wanting to avoid metagaming?
Try.
Get into character.
Get into character.
Do
That's
it.
Good advice.
Oh yeah, never mind.
That basically sums it up. Get into character.
Get into character, and if you need to leave character, make sure everyone knows you did.
Right.
I think that there's a very fine line between just right and too much and not enough. So I think that in order to maintain character at the appropriate level is when everybody else is out of character, it's okay to be out of character. When everybody else is in character, you could probably assume that being in character is the best thing to do. Maybe you take the lead and start being in character, and that just starts a new thing. So my advice for metagaming would probably be assume your character doesn't know anything, because if you assume that your character would know something, it probably wouldn't be the best interest for your character.
Right.
So if you feign ignorance, it's probably for the best for your character.
And it's always a good idea to ask, would my character know that?
Yeah.
Would I
Yeah.
know that?
All
and
the
at
time.
if worst comes to worst, ask the DM.
Absolutely.
Whether it's rolling a knowledge check or whatever.
Right.
One method I choose to use with my characters is, if it's a pretty basic knowledge, I'll set it to an intelligence check. I'll check for myself base, like maybe figuring out that which way to go.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
your characters are kind of self-medicated there with the knowledge thing.
That's pretty. That's a pretty smart move.
It's a smart move, but I would bet that a lot of people would have trouble doing that.
right.
That's like an advanced gamer. That's like epic level gamer.
Yeah, if you're just starting the game, it's probably best to
technique.
just ask the DM.
Ask the DM, and then when you get to Sebastian level of being a player,
If you ever get to Sebastian
if you
level.
ever get to Sebastian level,
No,
because
it's if
he's
you
got
ever
the
get
Ian level
to-
DM.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, when you get to that level of playing, then you can self administer your knowledge. But that's really good advice and something to work on.
And you have to have that trust between the player and the DM that you're not going to abuse it.
Yeah,
That's
as the
huge.
DM, you got to know your characters, and as the characters, you got to make sure the DM's just not.
That could
like,
be a.
Dick a
Oh, yeah.
DM is a term we have used here.
That'll be the
Next week.
the next week's subject for DM tips: how to handle gamers that try to cheat.
Cheating players.
Cheating players.
'Cause
We don't
I've got
have
some-
any. We don't have
I've
any
got
of those
some
here
stories,
currently.
Though, when I was
Your
at,
stories are the best.
when I was at Miami University, I had a little gaming group going, and oh boy, that's for next week.
Alrighty.
So, with that being said, this has been Dwarven Tavern Radio, and on behalf of the entire cast and crew, I am Jeff Goins,
I'm Sebastian Blanton.
I'm Ian Goins.
I'm Lyra Goins.
And I'm Josh Goforth.
and we wish for you to want for nothing but adventure. And at first I feared it, then I charged. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.